I'm primarily an FPS player, but being a lifelong gamer, I've heard all about League of Legends. Mostly, what I've heard is that it's incredibly popular, incredibly toxic, and everyone who plays it talks about it like it was a heroin addiction. Now, as uninviting as that sounds, I was curious for myself to find out what all the fuss was about. I loved Arcane, the League Netflix show, and I've generally enjoyed a lot of the promotional material I've seen Riot produce. So I decided to spend 7 days learning League of Legends to see if it really was the cesspool of gaming, or if perhaps there was some magic to its success. So the first thing you notice about League of Legends when you get into it is the character design, because even before you get into playing, you have to choose from a vast selection of diverse heroes. And it is interesting. Now, I've watched a ton of anime, so fan service is nothing new to me. But I was honestly surprised by how raunchy so much of the hero design was. Like, this one is particularly egregious. Miss Fortune. This is scandalous. This is actually scandalous. Children play this game? Particularly when it came to the design of the female characters, I was rather amused by how perfectly proportioned they were, almost without exception, all in rather tight clothing. Though there were some hot men out there too. Where's more Booba? Yeah, it's always Booba one side or the other. This is Booba again, Needly, Wild Booba, Crazy Late Pixie Booba, Cat Girl Booba, Horse Girl Blonde Booba. That aside, the heroes were definitely all vibrant and came with cool designs, especially their abilities. I know MOBAs often get criticized for their visual clutter, and there is a lot of that, but I still enjoyed how each character had so much personality flowing through them. The way they looked, how they spoke, their dialogue, and how their abilities complemented all of that together.
There is a saying on this planet, dumb as a rock. It's not a compliment.
It was a lot of fun, but then comes the bait and switch, because you're shown all these beautiful characters and then immediately told that you cannot play the vast majority of them. Now, growing up, I used to play a lot of Warcraft 3 and the original Dota back when it was just a custom game. More recently, I've played a bit of Dota 2 as well, so I've always been used to the idea that in a MOBA, you could just pick whatever character you wanted. But League was not like that at all. And honestly, it felt a little scummy. Not only were the vast majority of the characters behind a paywall, but the way to earn a large number of them seemed to be basically playing an impossible number of hours or just emptying out a 6-figure bank account. The way the currency system works only adds to my distaste. There was RP, blue essence, orange essence, boxes, keys, fragments of keys, tubes, horcruxes, whatever the hell it was. Just a bunch of ways to basically confuse you into spending more money. There wasn't a simple, honest option that said, pay X amount and we'll give you all the heroes. At least, none that the game told me about. It's all about creating these fake currencies to make you lose track of how much real money you were spending on the game, and that doesn't even include the cosmetics. I get that free-to-play games are designed to max out profits, but still, it all felt a little ridiculous, especially knowing I could go and play games like Dota and have access to all the heroes for free. Ultimately, it's not a huge issue for a new player like me, because I was only ever going to focus on a few heroes while I learned, but it definitely left a sour taste in my mouth, even before I seriously got into playing, which is what I did next. So I've talked a lot about the look and the systems of League, but now let me talk about the game. Obviously, those things affect your early impression of the game, but once you get into playing it, it's actually surprisingly fun. It was a blast, honestly. One thing I'd often heard about League is that it was the casual MOBA. A lot more normie and easy than, say, Dota or even Heroes of the Storm. But it was surprisingly intricate. There were so many footsie battles between the heroes, and I didn't realize just how tense the lane fights were. It really felt like every little movement was punishable. One wrong step could open up an opportunity for the enemy to grab you and assassinate you, and it felt very exciting. There were so many skill shots on all the heroes, requiring projectiles to be thrown or targets to be hit perfectly, and the enemy had to all dodge it within a split second. It was such a thrilling moment when you landed your abilities correctly and just took someone out. Genuinely, it was some of the most exciting gameplay I've ever experienced, in any game. Oh! Oh, we f***ing rolled those guys! Oh, styled on him! I didn't even know that I was going to do that. I was just like, I think this is going to knock me away. Fucking styled on that guy. The flip side to that, of course, is that things can be very punishing for you as well, especially when you don't know what they do. So much of my early experience was going up against a hero that I had never faced and just face tanking whatever abilities they would throw at me. I'm at least super grateful that I was live streaming the whole adventure, so I had my chat with me to guide me along the way and tell me what it was that I just died to, or what the enemy I was up against could do in terms of their abilities. Bounties or comeback mechanics. What are bounties? Basically, if you have under 50% health, Warwick and global movement speed towards you. Oh, so he's kind of like Bloodseeker from Dota, I see. Speaking of which, I kindly request that you head on over to twitch.tv/SAB_, drop me a follow, and come say hi during one of my live streams. I'd love to hear from you if you've come from the YouTube side. Now, for a normal new player who doesn't have a chat explaining things to them, I think you'd really need a friend or some sort of guide with experience, because figuring it all out on your own would be massively overwhelming. Because on top of the heroes, there's also the skins, which change what the heroes look like, making it hard to process in the moment if that's even the same hero you've faced before or not. It does take a bit of getting used to, especially running into like 110 different matchups. Yeah. The thing about MOBAs is you just have to be like prepared to fight a bunch of characters you've never fought before for the foreseeable future, especially when like skins change their looks as well. I have no idea sometimes when someone's rocking a skin, I'm like, oh, that's the same guy from last time. On top of that, there's the pre-game loadout stuff, which looks super complicated, and honestly, I just had to pull up a guide and blindly copy it. Still, the more I played, the more I started to get used to these things, and the more I enjoyed it. People would keep coming into my chat asking if I was tired of the degeneracy of League, but I really didn't face any of it. The chats were silent, I never got yelled at or slurred by anyone, which is unusual for multiplayer gaming. And as I tried more of the heroes, I found loads of fun ones I really vibed with. After initially grinding Darius, who was strong, but I felt like I was getting kited too much, I discovered Ezreal and was instantly hooked on his various skill shots. I'm not someone who enjoys easy gameplay, and when I tried Miss Fortune, for example, I was able to wreck because it did feel like the hero played herself. What is this guy doing? What is that guy doing? Signals to all in. God damn. Oh my god, dude, I'm fast as fuck. Ezreal, though, really felt like there was a challenge in hitting his abilities, and there was a proud satisfaction when I pulled off some good combo kills, knowing I had really done something worthwhile. Oh, we smoked this guy. We smoked this guy! Absolutely smoked this guy! Get in there. Oh, from downtown! Oh, big. Oh, we actually farmed. We actually farmed. Oh, I hit all four. Oh, that was great. That felt cool. But my enjoyment was about to take a nosedive before long, and that's where I started to see the real problems of getting into League. There are two major complaints I have with League of Legends from the perspective of someone trying to get into it. 1. The bloody surrender option. While people in League weren't toxic, in my experience, they were absolutely whiny bitches. Because the minute a game started to go badly, people immediately surrendered. You'd lose 2 fights, and you'd see your teammates bring that surrender vote right up. Now, to some extent, I get it. I was surprised by how impactful the early game in League is. Maybe it's just because I was playing unrated at a low level and no one knew how to come back in the game, but even 1 or 2 levels was a huge gap in the laning phase, something that's not so drastically true in my experience of other MOBAs. And if they had even 1 item over you, it could often mean that the opponent was just an unwinnable fight for your champion. And it was hard to tell at a visual glance when that was the case, meaning you often threw yourselves into fights that were just a throw. So I understand my teammates wanting to give up if they felt the early game was gone, but what's the point of playing if you give up at the first sign of difficulty? It made me glad that they don't have these options in Overwatch, for example, because I just know people are lame and want to throw in the towel super early. The biggest annoying part for me was that I could never play a game and be winning and actually see it all the way through. Let me have one game where I get to actually farm people and we don't just fucking surrender. If I was losing, my teammates would want to surrender and soft throw the game and give up. But if I was winning, If I ever got to the point where I was popping off and dominating the lobby, the enemy team would just surrender, and it meant I never got to enjoy the fruits of actually playing well. So basically, the experience of playing League of Legends is, if I'm losing, I have to suffer through it because I actually want to play and try to win. And if I'm halfway winning, they just surrender and that's it, the game ends. Like, even for like 5 minutes if we're ahead, game over. My predominant experience of League was spending time in games where my team was getting smoked. And this brings me to number 2. Smurfs. Now, every online multiplayer game ever has problems with Smurfs. It is just the nature of things that some people want to ruin the fun for others. But with League being such an old game, I felt like there just genuinely weren't many new players for me to play against. In the first couple days, I felt like I was playing against other noobs like me, and it was much more fun going up against someone in the same position as me. I felt like I had a chance. But after a few days, my rating must have climbed enough that all I kept coming up against was Smurfs. People with level 5 accounts that would absolutely destroy my entire team, while my chat is telling me that they're doing things that is absolutely not a newbie level gameplay. Yeah, he's just soloing us all now. Orb walking, the way the Smurf is playing with his orb walking. What is orb walking? Oh, you mean like stutter stepping, like you shoot, step, shoot? Smurfs, duo Smurfs. It was almost impossible to go a game without facing them. And while I appreciate the challenge of learning against better players, it just felt like the skill discrepancy was so high that there wasn't even much I could do. I was already in a place of needing to learn the absolute basics. So to be facing people who were doing advanced maneuvers felt super unfun. And if they farm my teammates in another lane, the game might just be as good as done for something I have no control over. It was really deflating, and honestly, by the end of it, I just wanted my 7-day journey to come to an end. So ultimately, as my League journey came to its conclusion, I left feeling sad. When I got to play League, I actually really enjoyed it. The interplay between the heroes was really fun, the ability use was really engaging, and when you outplay someone, it was genuinely so thrilling. There are some really rewarding mechanics in League, but the points I spoke about earlier made it so that I never really got to actually play League. Most of the time, I was just playing Respawn Simulator with my team, desperately defending the base while they wanted to surrender. The characters were really fun too, and I tried mid lane and really got to enjoy Ziggs as well. Oh, get rolled, kid! But again, the hero paywalling did annoy me, and having to scrounge around some essence just to try some new heroes made me want to pay even less money into the game than I would have done had I felt the monetization was fair. I couldn't even try playing the game more seriously in the competitive mode till I owned a certain number of heroes and had a certain number of levels. So it felt like I was trapped in a pyramid scheme. The anti-Smurf measure of having this level requirement wasn't helping me, it was just preventing me from playing the mode I wanted to play, which I never got to do. So would I recommend learning League? In some respects, yes. If you have a friend who knows the game, who can duo with you, or better yet, watch you and teach you, then I think you'd have a really good time. I think it might be a self-fulfilling cycle of needing a Smurf to combat all the other Smurfs. And I imagine once you get past those barriers and get into competitive and get a rating where you can play against other people of a similar rating, there's probably a lot of fun in playing League at a higher level than my silly unrated games. But if you're like me and just wanted to try League as a purely solo, fresh experience, then I do not recommend it. It'll be incredibly punishing, draining, and at the end of it, you won't even get a great reward, other than lobbies full of misery. I think for now, I'd rather go back and try Dota again. Sorry, League players. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, then why not consider supporting me directly via Patreon, as it allows me to keep making videos like this. I'd like to give a big shout out to my current patrons whose names you can now see on screen, and if you have enjoyed the content, then why not consider checking out some of the other YouTube channels that I have, or my live stream on Twitch, where I stream 5 days a week. Also, what game would you like to see me play next? The most liked comment below the video will be the game I try first. But that's it for me. I'll be back before you know it with another video. See you guys soon.